Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Johnson. Again, I want to welcome you back to the second part of our interview with Akira Togawa, who is with Harris. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit then in the lane of not so much just Gen AI. We know that's a bright, shiny object today. But when we think about the overall ecosystem of startups and academic institutions and technology partners that are all coming out, together with innovation for large organizations, how important you see that collaboration being and what you're able to bring to the business and sort of incent them to want to pull forward. Can you share a little bit about the collaboration side of that, how you're embracing the accelerator that might represent as you do digital transformation for Harris?
Sure thing. In some ways, my group was treated as a startup within our organization. And I'm sure a lot of people who are in our space feel the same way, where they are hired either because there's a strategy at their organization or at a corporate level to say that these are things that we need for a particular purpose
Hmm.
or a vision, but they're hedging a little bit. They don't see it as the same as some of the other corporate groups. So it might be that there was a particular initiative that was the impetus for hiring, and that was the case with us. But I'm happy to say that this past year we went, I'll say, quote unquote, public, meaning that we are now a real institutionalized firm here at Harris. And I think that that's important when you think about collaboration and ecosystems. What we did in order to gain that type of relationship was through really working with the business to hear their needs. This is a collaboration key element in that we're not just here to preach technology for the sake of technology and everything should be data centric. We understand that a lot of it is, but that we should really be thinking about how data, our teams, and the other people within this organization can work harmoniously. I think that that is key, that we all have to keep that in mind, that we are supporting technologists for other larger business cases. It's
Hmm.
apply technology to whatever industry you're in. If you're helping a financial firm, a healthcare firm, a construction company, that is their line of business, and we're here to help. And
Yeah.
so, further down that road, my strategy when I hire for building these teams is we all, I prefer to look for those folks who have industry experience, much like myself. Unfortunately, we have to hang those hats up and we can't be engineers and we can't be, let's say, doctors forever. But once we go and get secondary degrees, we're able to leverage both of those worlds and we can really find the right fit for purpose to work in these ecosystems.
I think something you shared with me as we were getting to know each other in preparation for the interview is that you come from the business, you come from the field of the challenge that is out there in terms of getting the project across the finish line efficiently. And so you bring not only the technology expertise, but you also bring the field knowledge and experience to really kind of bridge the gap between what the technology's promise could be and the business problem where the promise could be valued right in realization. And so I think that's really key, as we kind of contemplate how transformation can really be driven forward. I appreciate that. Can you talk to me a little bit about out of the laboratory onto the shop floor or onto the construction site at scale?
When you start a digital practice, you build a couple solutions and they're very bespoke to the end user, and you care for them and you love them and you treat them as if they're just one-off things. And as you start to grow, you realize that you could have had a plan for scaling, but that it's important that it's almost like agile development, right? We have to go down that road a little bit and then realize where we're going. And sometimes we have to circle back. So
Mhm.
right now where we are is we are at a point where we have scaled in orders of magnitude to the point where we now have to revisit. And unfortunately, what that is for some folks, they'll understand the term tech debt, but you build a lot of code or you build a bunch of dashboards and they were great, but now we got to ditch them because we now realize that there is a whole new framework that we need to implement. And it would be more work for us to take the stuff we've built and modify it rather than starting over.
Mhm.
So it's an odd answer to the question, but I think that it is firmly planted in reality, which is that sometimes you need to put your egos aside or think about the sunk cost fallacy and say, you know what we did was great at the time, and we now need to take what we've learned and we do need to start over. We got to demo the house and we have to build a new one based on what we know. You come with a strategy for sure on how to scale,
Mhm.
but these are all very new technologies, and the businesses which we're supporting are ever changing. So we have to always take a look at is are we set up for scale? Not looking at what we did yesterday, but are we looking forward? Because tomorrow is going to look different every day. So we always have to react.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really is striking about that approach is that you're recognizing that your Gen One product isn't necessarily the production scale product that you want to roll out. So you want to learn from that Gen One product that you create, and then use those learnings to create something that can scale. And I think that's really a key point of the equation of getting to scalability. I want to talk a little bit now, flipping the script a bit to talk about measuring success. So, yeah, everybody wants to kind of, attribute the return on investment to the initiative that you've driven. As a matter of fact, I just came today from a chief data officer roundtable in Columbus, Ohio, where there were 20 or so CDOs talking about value, driving value, and accelerating the use of data to get to value. And this topic of measurement and attribution was center stage here. And one of the points that came up in the conversation I thought was really fascinating was that context matters. So in terms of attributing value to data assets or the transformation that they can drive in digital transformation, you can't just really look at the technology and ascribe value to it in its practical application, but you have to look at the context of the business problem to which the technology applied or the transformative capability applied really is advanced in some measurable way. And so, can you talk to us a little bit about how you see the key metrics or indicators that you prioritize in order to determine in tangible ways for your business leaders, the value realization from the transformations that you're delivering? Can you give us some sneak peek into some of those key metrics that you're using?
Sure. Before we get into it, I just want to say that this particular topic is very near and dear to my heart because I think we all do some soul searching as knowledge workers on how are we being productive in our own ways too, not just as a team or an organization, but am I doing the right things for the right reasons? And how do I even measure success for the day? Is it my inbox is empty? I've answered all my chats, right? I don't think so. And so I look at how can we apply a more abstract concept to this success as well, because this is all brand new stuff and context is important, Mark. But we also have to play the game of the business side of the house. We understand that we have executives that need to see performance, and if we don't dictate or drive what those metrics will be, then they will apply some to us, which might be round peg square hole.
Right.
So, especially in a construction company where we have real folks with real hands on things that build things, we can go look at the Sphere project and I can tell you metrics, right? They're there. Are
Right.
we building it on time and at cost? And how much did I get done today? These are very easy metrics for factories or other types of industries where that's there. But for us knowledge workers, it's harder. It's not how many dashboards I created today. It's not how many lines of code I committed to our repos, but at the same time, like I said, we do have to provide something to our stakeholders, our boards, right? They need to see it. So I put our success into two buckets: quantifiable, which are truly things that are numbers, but the important one is the qualitative aspect to it too, and I'll get to that in a second. So quantifiable, we keep it simple. Are we on schedule and are we on budget? Everybody knows those. And while they don't necessarily dictate the success of the project, they are just good housekeeping numbers that we need to know. We all run businesses, and that's how business runs. So if I say I'm going to get something done within a set amount of time, did I get it done? That's important. That helps me learn as a manager. Am I underestimating, overestimating? What were the roadblocks? How can I help my team?
Hmm.
Budget, same deal, right? We have a budget. We have budget cycles. We have to say next year, this is how much we spent this year. This is how much we need next year. These are just housekeeping things that have to get done. So yes, we do use those as success metrics, but they're complementary to the qualitative ones that I want to talk about. So the qualitative ones are interesting, and these are ones that we are going to roll out soon. But after we're done with the project, we have meaningful retrospectives with our end users or our customers to talk about the solution that we've provided to them. And we give them a survey where they can give us almost like 5 stars if you go, go on a website and look at reviews. How did we do? Because a lot of times what you get is you only get 5 stars or 1 stars from people. Either I hated what they did or I loved what they did. Those are the only
Right.
people who ever solicit feedback unsolicited. I'm sorry. So we now proactively go to users and say, is this what you wanted? Please give us your honest opinion so that we can grow. And this is a very proactive approach to that.
Hmm.
And a novel one, the other one that we are introducing, which is more novel, is we almost want to engage with our executives to say what percent of our time is being spent on initiatives that you think are priorities to the business. So we actually get to put the agency back on them to be closer to the work that we're doing and say, you know what, yes, we have a mission critical initiative to say either reduce overhead by 5% or have more projects done on time or something, something, something. And if I create a dashboard which helps them with that initiative, then it's tied to that key initiative and we are being effective, not necessarily efficient, but we are doing the right things for the right reasons.
That's really powerful. And it leads me really nicely into the next question, which is on leadership and organizational change. And I've been really, chomping at the bit to get to this one because we talked again, as I mentioned, we talked a little bit before the interview, and you were saying that digital transformation is almost synonymous with innovation, and leading innovation is really a lot about organizational change management, right? Human change management to get the adoption that's necessary. So thank you so much for the time. Any final comments you'd like to make before we wrap up the interview?
No, I appreciate your time, Mark, and appreciate the cause of CDO Magazine. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. We're trying to get the word out and to educate, folks that are in this pathway. And if any of our listeners or viewers have some insights that would be beneficial to Akira, you could find him on LinkedIn. I'm sure he would entertain some thoughts and ideas in collaboration around some of the challenges that he's thinking through. Again, Mark Johnson, editorial board chair for CDO Magazine. Thank you so much for the time today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.